Hello, Tanya Gossage here with Gossage Performance Consulting, and I have here with me Jeffrey Yarbrough and Rachel Ruiz, who both work for Gossage Performance Consulting. We're so excited to be here with you, and what we do is we help individuals and small businesses increase their revenue by 30% in 90 days by providing them or providing you training in sales, marketing, leadership, mindset, and personal success. And we would love to reach out and help you today if you need that help. Today, we're going to talk about using your phone for sales and how your cell phone is your very best tool that you carry with you each and every day. And some telephone facts that we want to share with you is that 92% of all customer interactions happen over the phone. I think that you would agree with me. If it were not for the cell phone, I do not know how we would function. 85% of the customers report that they have been dissatisfied in a phone experience, and that has been reported by Salesforce. I would probably, if I were to ask you by a show of hands, how many of you would say, and being honest, that you do not like to make an outbound call, especially if it's to someone that you have not ever spoken to before? You probably, if you're like me, I have done this many times before, and I still sometimes do it today. I may practice that call in my head or to the wall or to my computer, practice that call before I actually make it. But how many of you would say that, again, being honest, that you don't like to make an outbound cold call? And the reason behind that is, and then Rachel, you and Jeffrey, feel free to chime in at any point in time, but you would say that because number one, you're either uncomfortable making the call, you don't know what to say, you don't know how to properly make an offer to the customer. And that's oftentimes probably one of the most reasons why you don't like making that type of call. You lose your thoughts during the call. That has happened to me many, many, many times. I'll be honest and say that. Or your customers don't answer the telephone and you don't know whether to leave a voicemail or not to leave a voicemail. And as I've already mentioned, I've been there. That's happened to me before. And as I've already said, Salesforce says that 92% of our interactions happen over the phone. So why are we so afraid of it? We should not be afraid of the phone, but I get it. I know that we are. And so the phone has to be, it has to be used in order to do business today. You use it at your place of employment today. If you're an entrepreneur or you're a small business owner, you and your employees have to use that to grow your bottom line today. You have to use it if you do a lot of door-to-door visits. You have to do it for follow-up. There's so many things that you have to use the telephone for today. And so we're going to talk about some of the types of calls that there are. I've already mentioned the cold call. And if you're making a cold call, you have to set the intention early, the reason why you're making the call. So if I'm going to call Jeffrey and he answers, I may say to him, "Hi, Jeffrey, this is Tanya with Gossage Performance Consulting. And the reason I'm reaching out to you today is the warm call. You've had some type of initial contact with that individual that you are placing the call to, and they are expecting that contact with you or that call with you. But if that individual, if Jeffrey's not expecting me to reach out to him at that moment in time, or to have a discussion with me about, maybe I'm going to reach out to him about a network marketing business, and he's not expecting that, even though I know him, then that's a cold call because he's not expecting that to happen. And then, Jeffrey, you want to mention some other types of calls that are out there?
Sure, yeah. Um, there are several different types. Most of us, I think, are most comfortable with an inbound call. Just answering our phone when it rings, or especially those of us in business, we know the phone's going to ring because we're at work, and so we're most comfortable in answering those inbound calls. But another one, too, that goes along with the cold and the warm is the hot call. Which that hot call are those people that you've probably already been in communication with them about your products or services. They know you're going to call. They're expecting you to call or follow up or have some sort of information for them. So that would be the hot call. And then, of course, we get into just the outbound calls, different types of those, which are similar to the cold calls.
Absolutely. Rachel, do you want to cover any of those?
Yeah, well, actually, my favorite call is the follow-up call. And I know most people dread this call because it is the thing that they don't want to hear the no at, but it is the place where you can secure the most amount of closes. And that's where it starts being fun. A lot of people with sales, they don't like sales and because they're not good at it. It just comes down to that and being good at taking rejection. And rejection comes in a lot of forms. And sometimes a delay is looked at as a rejection, but it's truly just an obstacle. So breaking down the follow-up call, getting past those obstacles, peeling back the layers and getting that yes is one of the most rewarding things. It doesn't matter, what it is that you're selling, that, it's always a feel good to close on a follow-up. And that's where the most sales are made. A lot of people aren't great at closing on the first run. And so, the second time is where it's at. So that's my favorite call.
Absolutely. And so just know that when you're making cold calls to someone, or even your follow-up calls, just know that you're probably never going to make the sale on the first initial call. You might, but again, you might not. It typically takes 8 to 12 or 5 to 12 contacts before you're able to make that initial sale. There's also the outbound cold call. There's the outbound ad response call. There's the outbound lead response call. There's the outbound referral. Keep in mind too, well, before I say that, there's the door-to-door call, but keep in mind that customers typically will give you a referral, but they say that most of the time they're not asked for a referral. So don't be afraid to ask an individual for a referral, because they will give you a referral. You could just typically ask them, who comes to mind that might need this particular product, or who might need this particular service. And if they say, I don't know, I can promise you that somebody came to their mind when that question was asked. And you might say, well, if you did know, who would that be? If you did know, who would that be? Because again, somebody came across their mind. And if they continue to say, I don't know, you might just say, hey, Jeffrey, I know somebody came to your mind when I asked you that question. Who was that? Who was that? Because probably whoever it was that came to their mind is the very person who needs the service that I have to offer them. So, again, the cold call defined is the solicitation of business from potential customers who are not anticipating that interaction, as I explained a while ago, when I was going to pick up the phone and call Jeffrey, and he was not expecting that call from me. Cold calling is the technique where a salesperson or technician or even the service person connects individuals or businesses who have not previously expressed an interest in the product or the services that are being offered. It typically refers to cold calls, but can also be a drop in visit from door to door, or anything again where they're just not expecting you. Um, One of the things that you want to do is, when you're making that initial call, introduce yourself, but introduce yourself using your first name, and then go right on into the reason why you're making that call. And you want to capture their attention immediately at the initial beginning of that call. And we can talk about that probably in another Facebook Live or YouTube Live. But the reason for going directly into that is you want to get interested in immediately how you can help them and finding out what their wants and their needs are. You don't want them to hang up on you. So quickly and immediately, you've got to get right into what their needs are. Do you manage a business? How many salespeople do you have? Those types of things. Get right on into the meat of the reason that you're making contact with that business. And the warm call, and we're just going to go through the warm and the hot, and we're not going to go into any of the others, but we will focus just a few minutes on the follow-up because I think it's really important. But the warm call, it refers to calling a prospect with whom you've had some prior connection to, as we just talked about. Where could you make a warm connection? Jeffrey, Rachel, where are some places that we can make some warm connections to individuals so that we can then hop on the phone with them?
You can do it on your personal profile Facebook page. It's just as simple as that. Just with your friends, start with your friends and family. The low hanging fruit. Those are reconnecting is just as essential as connecting for the first time. And you'll find a lot of warm individuals just in your own and immediate network. You can do it inside of your Facebook groups and casual conversation. You can do it at the grocery store, but I know we're more in a virtual world now, so we'll keep it focused on virtually how to turn those warm. You can reach out into other people's groups, comment on other people's topics that you think that you might be able to help them warmly. Nobody wants to be sold to, so you want to just go in with the true intention of creating a connection and not just talking, and then take that connection and take that trust, and then let them know how your product can help them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Jeffrey, anything to add?
I agree. Social media is probably the best place, because we're all on social media right now, and there's a lot of opportunity there. But also, like you mentioned earlier, referrals from other people, your own network, like Rachel was mentioning, as well as, your workplace. There's different people in your workplace, or maybe you have to go to a work function of some sort that you can network there a little bit and meet people and get to know them there as well.
Absolutely. And one of the places for us, and hopefully you can take this and use it, because we want to provide you with great value. That's one of the reasons that we're coming here often, is to provide you with value. And alignable.com has been extremely valuable for us. And we've shared this with a lot of people. Facebook is great. Instagram is great. LinkedIn is great. And we are socializing on all of these platforms and in all of these groups. But Alignable too has been very successful for us. Get involved in groups there. They have 2,000 groups that you can get involved in. It's just been a great thing for us. And I know that we're going live on Facebook's platform, so I don't want to, be as salesy for Alignable on Facebook's platform, but go out to Alignable, get on that network, and get into some groups there. Provide value to people, and you will reap the rewards there. But you can get a lot of warm connections and warm calls started in groups. And that platform is for small businesses, large businesses, but specifically small businesses and entrepreneurs. And it's a great place to be. And that's where you can get those warm calls started. So let's talk about a hot call. A hot call is where a prospect has already called you, or they've raised their hand and said, me, I'm interested. I want to reach out and have a strategy call or a blueprint call with you. I want to have some connection to find out what you can do for me. Or I want to engage in some coaching with you. I want to attend an event with you, or I want the product that you already have. I know that it's the right fit. Just like for me, when I found out that Grant Cardone had the licensee program, when myself and Lori and Rachel, we were creating training content and spending hours, and I'm spending salary in creating training content. And we were making progress, but I saw that we could make faster progress by me becoming a Grant Cardone licensee and getting access to more of what I needed. I was like, why wouldn't I not do this? So that was a hot call when I picked up the phone and said, I need what you have. Sell it to me. That's a hot call.
Well, and I'll add to that too. Just in general, for us, doing employee training, there's a lot of times employers don't have time or the know-how to do employee training.
Absolutely.
And so we've gotten some of those phone calls too, those hot calls.
Absolutely. So who makes cold calls? Startups, sales organizations, direct marketing, and network marketing groups do. Job search. When you're job searching, you make cold calls. Inventors, technology people, agents, real estate companies, insurance agents, investment individuals, if you're fundraising, you're making cold calls. Bankers make cold calls, lawyers, accountants, politicians. Tell me who doesn't make cold calls. So many lines of business anymore make cold calls, and you are making sales calls and cold calls every day, even though you don't realize that you are. Anytime that you pick up the phone and you are calling a customer service department to somebody you do not know, you are making a cold call. And it hits home when you start realizing how much of this you're really doing when you don't realize you're doing it. But there's so many benefits to a cold call than what you realize that there are. You can be I apologize, and I lost my train of thought there. But did you know that the cold call is the most effective way of doing business? I already said this is the best tool that we have. We can't do without it. It is 6 times more effective than doing business than any other thing. Mail, advertising, the return rate on a piece of mail that you get in your mailbox is 1 to 2%. You can be 6 to 10 times percent more effective on this device than anything else. A cold call is also 6 times less expensive than making a physical call to the individual. And when I say physical call, I mean going to the individual's place or meeting them somewhere. It's 6 times less expensive. And so Grant has this saying, and I love it, but the first, you want to be first to get the business, or you'll be last. So, you should call your customers often, and you either want to be first to get the 50% of the customers out there, or be the last to get the rest. So think about that. Somebody is going to reach out to your customers. Is it going to be you, or is it going to be your competition? And so for those of you that are working in a corporation or a company, who is calling on your customers? You or your competition? Call your customers, call them frequently, take care of them. Be first or be last. I want to be first. I want to be first out there to get the new business. I don't want to be last. But if I am last, I'd rather be last than to not get the business at all. So identify and create business opportunities and crash through obscurity. Build your personal reputation and establish new relationships. Because using this thing right here, it empowers you to do so much. And follow up is the holy grail to it all. And I want to go ahead and I want to skip right to that. Or I guess I should mention to you, just so that you know, but the cost of using this phone and making a sales call is $33.11 versus me physically going to see Rachel at a cost of $276.48. So I can make many, many, many more calls and get much more done by using this phone that I can physically going to see my people. Although going to see my people, there is some advantages and benefits to doing that, but look at how much more I can get done by using this phone. It's so powerful. It's so powerful. But I want to go to follow up. But again, always remember, the first caller gets 50% of the market. The last to the call gets the rest. I don't want to be that person. Or I'd rather be that person than not getting any of the calls. The follow-up. Let me just tell you, there's so many ways to follow up. There's text message. There's video message. There is, I can't find it, guys, in my notes. There's, are you guys there yet?
No. Go ahead.
So I'm just going to do it off the top of my head. There's text message, there's email message, there's video message, there is voice message, there's Snapchat, there's Facebook Messenger, there is, help me out here, I'm counting on you. I don't have my notes.
Messenger, there's Clubhouse. I mean, there's all types of platforms online and with your cell phone that you can use to communicate and connect. Now, so more now than ever before. Should make all of your phones much easier.
Yes. So the point being is, if you follow up with somebody within 5 to 10 minutes of your initial call, you have a much better chance of staying connected to that individual through the follow-up process and getting their business than you do if you lag and not follow up for quite some time. Follow-up is so important.
Well, and two, to Rachel's point earlier about the follow-up being her favorite call, most of the sales are made on like the 5th 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th time to follow up. I know I used to work for a company that was like, I'll call you today, I'll call you tomorrow, and then I'll be done. And so we only did a couple of follow-up calls, which we didn't get a lot of sales because of that. You've got to have those calls. You've got to do those repeated follow-ups, do them multiple times because we're all busy. Everybody takes a lot of time. And I know myself, I do it all the time. It's like, oh, I'm going to make a mental note to call that person back or to respond to that message. And then the day gets away from me and I'm laying in bed and wake up at 2 a.m. thinking, oh crap, I didn't call them back. And so then I forget again. And so we've got to constantly have those additional follow-up calls and those reminders from people before we can ever make the sale.
That is exactly right. And 48%, I believe it is, of people never, ever, ever follow up. And so don't be in that percentage. You want to be in the percentage of people who do follow up. And the chances for you to stay in connection and for people to return your calls, eventually buy from you, increase, I believe it is by 900% if you do a follow-up within 5 to 10 minutes of your initial conversation with them. So again, it's critical to do that follow-up. So with that, I want to end by saying that we are having a 10X business boot camp in October. We're having one on October the 23rd in Fayetteville at the Hilton Garden Inn. And we are having one in Little Rock at the Chenal event venue, which is formerly Noah's, on October the 25th. We are looking forward to that. We have a friend, Nick Kobzar, out of Ontario, Canada, who is jointly co-presenting with me and with Rachel on that or in that event. And we will be teaching Grant Cardone's materials on sales, marketing, and execution. Looking forward to that. We would hope that you would join us there. You could register at businessbootcamp.tanyagossage.com. And with that, we are excited that you are either watching this live or watching the replay. And until next time that we join you live, have a 10X day, and we will see you soon. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.